Hi, and thank you so much for popping by. My name is Dr. Rita Pobaluzzi, and you're most welcome to this conversation today. Various news reports and, of course, announcements from government departments in the relevant countries have stated that Botswana will now be facing more scrutiny when they travel to these specific destinations, right? So in October 2025, the United Kingdom, through the appropriate government departments, announced that Botswana will be facing more visa restrictions when they travel to the UK, right? Now, in the context of these UK visa restrictions, I'm not surprised. I did a story about the human trafficking gang in the UK, sorry, that was led by Botswana. And once that story broke out, I think this was 6 months ago, I immediately understood the consequences of that narrative, right? I immediately understood that this kind of story is going to raise some red flags in immigration departments in the UK and potentially globally. Now, in the context of the US, Botswana are also facing more visa restrictions, right? In the case of the US specifically, they are going to have to pay 5,000 US dollars or an additional 15,000 US dollars there in between in order to prove that they will absolutely come back to Botswana after they visit the United States for whatever reason it might be, whether it is tourism or business. Those are the restrictions that will apply. Key to these visa restrictions is actually the message that Botswana are overstaying their welcome. In the UK, they're overstaying their welcome in the US. That is the key message. And obviously, wherever there is a crisis or wherever there is a problem, there's an opportunity to fix it. And I think in the case of both the UK and the US visa restrictions, both the countries are saying, Botswana, you are in the amber now. You are no longer a green light. You are now in the amber light zone, right? And you still have an opportunity to fix the problem. So these restrictions are not as extreme as if you consider the fact that some countries have been banned completely from entering the US, right? So in the case of Botswana, we are still in the amber light. The United States is saying, we're giving you an opportunity to fix this problem. One of the issues that I'm really thinking of when I am talking about these Botswana overstaying their welcome in both the US and the UK is the issue of youth unemployment in Botswana. The youth are the primary suspects here. Youth are the ones who are taking the risk to visit these certain countries because they're feeling the pressure of unemployment. And as I said before, I'm not advocating for what they're doing, but I can absolutely appreciate where they are coming from. And now, as a result of these restrictions, even those who are complying with the regulations are going to be facing further scrutiny, right? It is putting all of us at risk, but even more so the ordinary Motswana. The ordinary Motswana is the one who's going to be suffering the most compared to the presidents, the ministers, and all of these high level executives who will not face as much scrutiny as we will. Now we are going to be traveling with very anxious feelings as we approach the entry and exit points of other countries, right? And by the way, this is in context to the US and the UK. But once a trend catches on, it is going to spill over to other nations who are also going to be looking at us very suspiciously from now onwards and asking themselves, is this Motswana going to go back to that country after this holiday? Is this Motswana going to go back to that country after this supposed business meeting? Right? So, this kind of narrative has a very negative spillover effect on other countries for sure, right? And I say this again, the margins of inequality in Botswana, the high margins of inequality in Botswana, the need to reduce youth unemployment, and of course, the youth have cried a lot about corruption in Botswana. It can have a very negative and deterring effect on their ambitions, right? On the things that they hope to do for the country. Now, in the case of the UK, the visa restrictions were implemented in October this year. And in the case of the US, the visa restrictions are going to start in January 2026. So if you look at both the context of the US and the UK, what they're essentially saying is that Botswana are abusing the system. We are overstaying our welcome. And as a result, they are going to be implementing these extra visa restrictions. They're going to be applying more scrutiny to Botswana when they apply to either travel to the US or the UK for business or for tourism's sake, right? This is not a red light. In the case of both the US and the UK, this is an amber light that is saying, we are cautioning you, we are warning you, please fix the situation. And we have the opportunity to fix the situation, right? And as Botswana is not the only country that is experiencing this at the moment, but it's very untypical of Botswana to find itself in a position where the passport is under scrutiny. This is the first time I have heard of this particular trend. And as I've stated before on this channel, I used to work in a global transportation company. I used to visit for work and for tourism's sake countries such as Sweden, Denmark, Scotland, right? And in every instance, I would apply for a visa even where I didn't need it, such as the case of the UK, right? On my way to the UK, I made sure to apply for a visa because I didn't want to face the anxious energy that you get when you don't know whether you're going to pass through or not. So I always made sure to apply for a visa, even when I went to the UK, Scotland specifically, for a work-related trip. The same thing applies when I was applying for the Schengen visa, right? To visit countries such as Sweden and Denmark. Same thing applies. I would apply for a visa, and typically it's they don't ask for too much, right? They're asking whether you can afford to be there. Have you paid for your accommodation? Do you have a work to go back to in Botswana? So it's very simple letters, very simple documentation. But now, in the context of the US, on top of having all of that proof, you're going to need an additional 5,000 US dollars or to the range of 15,000 US dollars, which in this case is almost 150,000 bula extra in order to secure your visa. So, as I'm saying, these restrictions are not set on stone. These are restrictions that can easily be overturned, and we have the opportunity of Botswana to fix what the situation is in Botswana, right? This is an opportunity to talk to the issues of youth unemployment, to reduce these issues of marginalization, and etc. Alrighty, my friend, I thank you so much for popping by. I hope you are having a lovely day where you are, but most importantly, I hope you're having a healthy day wherever you're watching me from. Bye.